spending 2 or 3 days. You're packing up a cooler, we're drinking a bunch of beer, staying up later than I should. I remember sitting up one night watching television. We need to get up and go hunting in the morning. This is what it's all about. But hell, my brother and I are just sitting up and we're watching old, hunting videos on TV, and this commercial comes on talking. It was selling like a buck grunt. It's like 1:30 in the morning infomercial, and it's like, don't buy your buck calls from China. One of those type of, buy something that's made in America. Hey, Hun family, welcome back to Tracks and Tackle, and we're going to have a good one for you tonight. Appreciate you guys jumping into the show here. Just like every other episode, I got my main man, Kris. How you doing, Kris?
Oh man, I'm great, dude. It's nice weather. Went out fishing with the kids here a couple times. Man, I'm digging it, man. We're moving and grooving, dog. How about you?
Good, man. I've taken a couple of weeks off. I know that we're posting episodes right now, so till this thing airs, we'll be back into the swing of things and stuff. But I'm ready to rock and roll, and we got an old friend coming back on, Brian Kritzer with Young and Wild Outdoors. How you doing, Brian?
Hey fellas, doing great. It's springtime, man. I have been itching to get out, and I'm just glad that the weather's right and I can get out, eat, sleep, breathe, fish. Right now, it's this time of the season, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So it's good to be here,
Heck
guys.
yeah.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah,
Heck
no, we're
yeah.
glad to have you back, man. I know last time we had some technical issues, but tonight we're going to switch gears a little bit. Instead of chasing whitetails or smallmouth or even turkeys, certainly we could talk about that stuff, but we're going to go and have another roundtable conversation. And so if I want to set the stage for everybody, we're going to just take a back seat to that stuff, and we're going to sit down like guys do and hash it out and talk about a couple of different topics and real talk, good laughs, that sort of thing. We just want to sort of get into it, no politics, no BS, and have a fun conversation tonight. And these are fun episodes to have because we talk about the outdoors and we're all sort of geared the same way. But when we start talking about other topics, the conversation comes alive and we all bring something different to the table. So anyway, Kris,
Yeah.
I'm going to segue over to you because this was really your idea at the beginning when we launched the roundtable segment. And why don't you just tee it up, and then I think what we'll do is we're going to go around the ring. Each one of us has got something we want to sort of present to the other fellas, and we're just going to dialogue and go through it. So it should be a fun one tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So we've done a couple of these before, and obviously the main, driving force behind this podcast is hunting, fishing, outdoor stuff, right? But we also like hanging out as guys, being bros, broing out, no homo, unless you're into that, whatever. Just hanging out, laughing, having a good time. We're all into different stuff. So we're trying to launch this. Let's get back into this and telling stories that are outside of hunting, sharing memories, sharing stuff like that. So again, each of us have some questions for each other. No one knows what they are. So we're going to hit it off. You want me to start, Ron, or you want to go first?
No, let me do the icebreaker because, this might be a 5-minute convo or might be a 15. Depends on what feedback I get from you guys.
Okay.
I've been chewing on this because I knew that we were having Brian come on, and I've been chewing on this for a little
Okay.
while. I was at like a networking business leaders lunch maybe a month ago. One of the guys, he asked the group a question. He's like, if you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, and I know you guys both dig music, right? And got some good taste in music. But if you could only listen to one song, he's like, what would that be? Now, that was a tough question. I couldn't, on the spot, how do you choose like one song? Because there's so many good songs. So I got two questions. We're going to start off with I want your Mount Rushmore of the top 5 songs that if you had to choose 5 songs and you were on an island and you could never listen to any other music and you had to listen to it on repeat over and over again, where would you go with that? All right, so I'm not going to funnel it
Okay.
down too much. I'm going to give you 5. You don't have to give me 5, but you don't have to narrow it down to just one. All right, so you can give me a top 3, give me a top 5. I want your Mount Rushmore. All right, and then I have a follow-up to this if we've got time, but I think this is going to crack us open, and certainly we have people that are watching and listening that have opinions on that. If you're watching online, go ahead and like and share and drop a comment. Tell us what your top 5 songs, favorite songs that if you had to listen to and for the rest of your life on repeat, what would they be? So I'm going to throw it to you, Kris. Put you on the spot. You don't
Okay.
have to give me all 5 at once either.
This is how my brain works. So this is my stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff when I'm fishing or if I'm in the deer stand, I'm not thinking about fishing or deer hunting usually, like my
Right.
brain's wandering if I'm driving to work. This is like legitimately, and we didn't know these questions. Like, this wasn't stuff that
There's no
we all
prep.
kind of kept them secret, right? Okay. So for me, 5 songs, man, easily. I love classical music. Growing up, I'm a kid in the 80s. My dad was born in the 50s. We had a record player in the house. My dad had classical records, growing up, man. So like Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, a lot of that stuff. So I have an affinity for that. Love some modern classical music. There's a guy named Hans Zimmer, does a lot of movies, won all kinds of Oscars. He's done Gladiator, The Lion King, the Batman movies with Christian Bale. He's done a lot of movies and stuff. He's got a theme from Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's one of my favorite soundtracks. I have 2 Pirates of the Caribbean tattoos. I dig those movies. He's got, it's a movement that somebody put together online of other songs, but it's called Marry Me, from Hans Zimmer. And that's a top song for me. It goes through a bunch of different stuff. Bet you guys didn't think I was going to say anything like that.
That's
But
why we
just,
have
I'm
these
super
talks,
into
man.
that. It's got a lot of different right. A lot of different movements and emotions, man. I love that song. It's about an 8-minute piece all put together. I love old country music. I
Mm-hmm.
love Buck Owens and the Buckaroos. My favorite country song of all time is one by him called Above and Beyond. That's number 2. I love Elvis, old Elvis. Suspicious Minds, number 3. Moving forward, Brian's, I love Metallica. The first Metallica song I ever heard was Wherever I May Roam. That's got to be number 4. Man, there's so much.
All right, well, let's pause. Let's let you
I'll
think, man.
pass it
You're
off to
doing
you.
pretty good. You
Yeah,
give a top
Brian.
3, and I know I'm putting you on the
What's weird
spot.
is I just watched a dude online do this yesterday. So it got me thinking yesterday.
Really?
This guy was talking about his top songs on a desert island. So go ahead, Brian.
All right, that's cool. So, Brian, before you roll into yours, what I want is feedback on Chris's choices, honestly. Right? So,
Okay. My
um,
top, yeah.
movie soundtracks, or old country music, or Elvis, or early on Elvis. Like, where do you weigh in on those genres?
Oh, I love the classics. And some of what Chris was referencing, I'm not familiar with some of the classical stuff. I grew up in the late '70s, so I was in the Monte Carlo with my family. That's what it was. It was actually a black Monte Carlo, if you remember them. And it was what was on the radio was what I was jamming out to as a kid, and that was back in the day where you know the windows were just about up and the cigarette smoke was rolling. Surprised
Yeah.
I'm still breathing I'm still breathing as good as I am, but
Yeah.
my lungs are still working pretty good. That's okay, mom and dad, it happens.
70s were a
But
great period for music, though, dude.
mhm. Yeah, and, just what Chris was saying is, that's those are the classics, the Elvis, those are the legends that never die, you know, and that's what everybody is chasing now is those guys that, you know, they were legendary and legends at the time. And, you know, that the bar was set high, you know, and I think, there's some great music pumping out right now, but, you know, there's something to be said when you go back, you know, several decades, you know, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think, one
Awesome.
of the things that I look at is like a time period like the 70s and the 60s and when they were kicking out music like that. You had, and Kris, you appreciate this as a musician. People were making music, and it was a skilled instrument ensemble. People are still making music today, but it's a different art form. I don't know, from my perspective, um,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
e
it's you're
things
100.
are synthesized and
You're
computerized, and, even
mhm,
vocalization's not the same, right?
digital. Yeah, I mean, even if you go back, classical music I like growing up anyways, and I like movies, so it kind of comes natural. But what's cool to me, if you really break it down and think about it, whether you like that music or not, is that is, you know, 40, 50, 60, 100-piece orchestra symphonies. And back then, especially like in Beethoven's time or Bach, Tchaikovsky, Vivaldi, whatever, those dudes wrote that
Mhm.
and they could hear the whole thing. It wasn't just that I wrote a guitar part and then
Right.
here's the trumpet player. They wrote the whole thing, the whole thing.
They were
Beethoven wrote
thinking through the ensemble.
these whole movements. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. Um, I'll send you a link. So that guy Hans Zimmer, he goes on tour with a whole orchestra and a whole band, and they play some of this stuff live. And you wouldn't know that it wasn't produced and recorded and layered and mastered. It's just mind blowing for someone that's into music. So let's get some of you guys' choices, man. Hit me with some choices that you guys have for this. I want to hear
So
yours.
yeah, so what do you got? What do you got, Brian?
So, you know, you were saying about rocking out there, Chris, and just my mind went right to, and I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it, but a live grand Siberian orchestra performance is it's mind blowing. I don't know if you guys have ever had that kind of music, but my wife and I have gone to a couple of those, and it's fire and it's lights and it's a pretty cool experience with those kind of things like that orchestra type of thing, you know. But with me, you know, there's something to be said about the '70s and '80s, that classic rock,
Mhm.
you know, that time period, I vibe with pretty good. And I also do like the modern rock, that's coming out today, Black Label Society. I do like the Five Finger Death Punch, the Bush. I like those, but, even before that, Chris alluded to this a little bit, is the Metallica, and, one of my top ones is, "One" by Metallica, and just the way that those riffs start out with, you know, with the guitar. So Metallica would be, you know, my top 5 for sure. Um, Phil Collins, "In the Air of the Night," and those classics that Phil Collins pumped out
Great
back
song.
then, you know, when I was, in high school, I played football, so, that was one of the the playlist, that was, cranking out for us right before we would go out in the field. It was, you know, Phil Collins in "The Air of the Night." So, those and, Aerosmith and, Dio, Ronnie James, you know, those guys, I don't know, man, it just music gets me pumping, and, you know, getting out and I listen to it going out to the stream or out in the, you know, to the field, and, I crank the music in my truck, and
Yeah.
I jam out before I get to where I'm going, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's why I knew this question, like this topic, would be something you guys would each have opinions on and stuff. And as you guys are talking, I'm just thinking of other things. So, like radio play, that classic music, there are certain bands that have been played to death. And so from my palate, it's like, I gotta hear, and like these bands are excellent. They're great. They're classics for a reason. But with the exception of like one or two songs, like you said about Aerosmith, I'm like, man, Aerosmith has been played to death on
Mhm.
the radio. So for me, I hear Aerosmith come on, I'm changing the channel. And it's like no disrespect.
Mhm.
but I've heard it too much. That top 40's been beaten to death, you know. So, and they're just an example. There's some other, like love AC/DC, ton of great songs and stuff, but just they're always on, you know.
Mhm.
So I love listening to different bands. So my follow-up question, and this is where my mind's thinking as I was formulating these topics, guys. So I mean, we can go as short as or as long into this. This is sort of just an icebreaker to get us talking around the table. Um, some guys are like, well, I listen to country music. And other guys are like, well, I listen to rock and roll, or I listen to rap, or like whatever the genre of choice is. And that's cool. But I love watching like these YouTube videos of these younger kids that have never heard some of the older stuff, and they're doing reactions. Like the first time I ever heard, you know, whatever the band is, first time I ever listened to Tool, and like their
Mm.
minds blown away because it's it's not what they typically listen to, right? And so expanding our minds to open your palate up for something that you usually don't listen to, you find things that you can appreciate. So my follow-up question is, name a band or two that when you were younger, they you just didn't think they were that great or that cool. But now as you've aged and you've matured and your palate has changed, you might have an appreciation for that band and its music that you didn't when you were, you know, a teenager in your 20s or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. You want to go, Brian? Or you want me to go?
Um, I can go. I guess for me, it would be the country. Growing up as a kid, I just never vibe with the country. But what I
Mhm.
think, what's coming out now, I'm gonna say it's a rock country, and I can't really think of specific bands because I'm not really deep into the country. But there's some really good country songs that are coming out. That's a little bit more of a metalish kind of heavier, and I kind of really like those. So,
Got an
yeah.
edge to it. It's got like an
Yeah,
edge, and it's
yeah, country
yeah. I know
edge.
what you mean. They're kind of that outlawy. You
Mhm,
know, I dig it. I dig it. Okay. You know, for me, it's funny, and it would probably be my fifth song is like Toto. You know,
mm,
everybody knows Africa and
mhm,
Hold the Line and Rosanna. And you know, you heard those songs and you heard them shopping with your mom at you know, whatever, and
Yeah, yeah.
different things. And but I saw one time, and I was just talking about this with my brother-in-law, who's a musician, and I've mentioned before he does like music soundtracks and scores and stuff. And we were texting the other day, and they have a live album. Um, man, I've drawn a blank as to what it's called now. Um, but it's live in Paris. It's not that old, and it was a blizzard. And my wife got snowed into her mom's house. That my boys were real little. I didn't have my girls yet or my little guy, so she stayed over there, and I'm just at the house, and there's nothing on, and this live concert comes on, and it blew me away. The musicianship, they're all singing, and it's like the crowd is nuts, and it was like this light bulb went off, and I was like, "This is actually awesome," you know. And then at that time, so you're talking, this is probably 10 or 15 years ago now. You know, I'm still kind of, you know, my metal friends, I can't tell them or my heart, you know, they don't know.
No.
And then I was like, "Hey guys, I'm listening to Toto," and they're like, "Dude, they're awesome." And it was like we had this like broed out moment, you know, everybody bonding over Toto, you know. And Africa, probably there's a live version of Africa with, you know, for me that is into like the musicianship where they're all singing and they're harmonizing together, and it's just really 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 cool. Let me look up what that thing's called so people can check it out.
Yeah, I mean, so music brings back that nostalgic feel. You know, a lot of times, like
mhm,
what we talk about on the
Yes.
podcast normally is we're talking about, you know, tradition and nostalgia and hunt camp vibes and, you know, what it was like growing up and why we got into it and why we're so passionate about it. But music does that, right? It'll take us back. And so
Yes.
I totally dig what you're saying, Kris, because I'm going down the road, I'm on a road trip or whatever, and you're just like searching through the radio stations or whatever, and you hear a song from the 80s, and it's like, man,
Yes.
You sometimes you forget like who sang but that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good song. So
I
I
actually,
can dig it.
I just, I just made a playlist. I love making playlists, man. Again, I've said this 1,000 times on here. If I'm not texting Ron, I'm on my phone, on Spotify, making playlists or messing with some art and stuff. I just made a playlist where it's like kind of what you guys said before. It's like stuff that you've heard on the radio a bunch of times,
Mm-hmm.
but they're actually good tunes, like real famous, hits and stuff like that. And I just made it, and it's for when we get in the car, and it's stuff that a lot of times when it comes on the radio, you hit skip or the next thing, or you turn it down. But really, they're great songs. I mean, AC/DC Back in Black, you've heard it 1,000 times. That's a cool song. It's a cool song,
There's a reason why it's a classic, right?
Warrant. Yeah,
Mhm.
Whitesnake and some of these other bands, Motley Crue, some of the stuff that was kind of cheesy, but when you listen to it, you're like, this is cool, man. One is that way for me. Metallica's one. I've heard it so many times, but when you
Mhm.
listen to it, you're like, this is super dark.
Mm-hmm.
When you know what it's about, and
Yeah,
you're like,
right. The
man, when they
storyline.
get into those riffs and the double bass at the end, you're like, holy crap. That Toto album is called Falling in Reverse Live. If anybody wants to check
Oh,
it out,
cool.
you guys might make fun of me, but whatever.
That's the whole
I'll
point,
take it.
man. We want to make fun of you.
I'm in.
Falling in
I'm okay.
reverse.
I'm in.
All right,
I think
I'll
it's
try to find the
interesting
link or
too.
send me the link
Okay.
and I'll drop it in the chat
I will.
in the
Okay.
description
Go ahead,
whenever we
Brian.
post. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just gonna say, just with the beats and the melody and the guitars and the drums, I tend to sometimes, you hear a song for the first time, but then what really pulls me in is like, okay, what's this song about? What message is it sending? And I like to get on like a YouTube and I'll type in the song, but then I'll type in the lyrics because I want to see exactly because sometimes it's hard to interpret what's being said, but,
Sure.
I think it's really cool when you like the song, but then you dive a little bit deeper to, like, figure out the meaning behind it, and what message is this band trying to send. Some of it's when you really look at it, some of it's pretty cool, others, it's like, "Oh, man, I didn't realize that was the intent," until you kinda dive into it, but I think it's really cool, and, when you take the song and you connect it to, like, things that have happened in your life, whether it be fishing, hunting, or personal things. I think that when you tie it together, that was like you were saying, Ron, you never really forget maybe where you were at and what you were doing when a certain song plays on the radio, or, after
Exactly.
a successful hunt or fish, you jump in the truck and this tune's playing and it's maybe a new tune. And it's like every time you hear that again, it's like flashbacks to that time when you were, kicking ass and taking names out in the stream or in the woods or
Yeah.
whatever you're doing at that time.
I can dig it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, listen, I don't want to like take up all the time. I know you guys, brought some topics and stuff. Anybody that doesn't dig music is like gone from the stream now, so that's all right. But if you're still hanging with us,
Get out.
before we roll over to one of you guys, because I want to hear from you on what you brought to the table tonight. Kris, you were talking about just like composing music and stuff. And like a band that I probably didn't I was like, I'm pretty simple. Like I like what I would call pub rock. Give me 3 chords over and
Uh-huh.
over again.
Yeah.
It's upbeat and like I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Simple music. But band I didn't like give a lot of credit whenever I was a kid growing up was ELO. But they have like a cult
Okay.
following.
All
Like that
right.
they would come with a different approach. Um, and another band that I really didn't like, I would hit skip as a teenager, but I love today are the Talking Heads.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
They got
Okay.
some awesome
Okay.
songs, too. So that's where I was going at with my head. Like if I hear the Talking Heads on the radio, like I'm turning it up now,
Uh-huh.
where I don't know, 15 years
Yeah.
ago I was probably changing the channel. So
I dig it, dude.
yeah, let's transition, man. I just figured I'd break the ice with some music talk with you guys. Appreciate that. Didn't
I'm
get a whole
in.
lot of
That gets
banter
my
back and
juices
forth.
flowing.
Yeah, we're not fighting yet across the table.
Yeah. Brian, go ahead, dude.
So, I guess what I wanted to bring to the table tonight is, you know, and it is geared towards that hunting and fishing. I hope that's okay, fellas. But you know,
Yeah.
I have this constant itch, and I can't get rid of it. I just always want to be out and about, man. I don't know, man. I just can't kick it. Like I'll go out and do something out in the field, and I love every second of it. And I will go from sun up to sunrise, and I'll get my fix. But like as soon as it's over, within a day or two, like I'm ready to lock and load again. And I don't know if it's just me or what. It's a good thing, but like you know, I try to I guess with the home life and family life, I try to find that balance because if it was up to me, I would go, 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 go constantly and be out doing it. Um, but that doesn't always go well on the home front. And I want to spend time with my family. So I think there's a balance there. And with that said, how do you take the passions we have, whether it be hunting, fishing, anything in life, and how do you translate that to your kids so that they can have that passion or drive or that itch to do something maybe that you have a passion for? And Kris, you were saying about your daughter or your kids being the same age as my daughter. She is she'll go out with dad, she'll go out with the old man like on the opener, and that's about the extent of it. So I guess my question to you guys is, what strategies, techniques do you use to get kids that kinda like it, and they'll go maybe once with your old man, but, like, you want them to go even more? Uh, yeah, I guess
It's a
that's,
great
you know.
question.
Yeah.
Chris, chime in.
It's funny
I
that you
got
say that
some
because
thoughts on this.
Ron and I were actually chit chatting on the way. I was coming home from work and hit a little bit of traffic and had a minute. So a lot of times I'll hit him up just to touch base. And we were actually kind of talking about this earlier, you know. So I have 5 kids, right? And they all love being outside. They all love it in different ways. My oldest, he just wants to do it. That's his drive. He wants to hunt and fish. You know, he's getting ready to get his license. He's going to be the guy like we've had on these shows, or maybe like we were, that he's going to be in the woods if he's with me or not. He's just going to go. My second son likes to do it with me. He's the movie music kid. He loves to go out and be with us. I don't know how much he's going to pursue it on his own, but he loves to do it with us. My 2 girls are twins. I just told Ron this story again. You know, one of them can't wait to hunt and fish and do all this stuff. And the other one loves to be outside, but she already told me, she's like, I don't want to hunt deer. I like them too much. She likes to eat them and she likes to butcher them, but she's already told me that, you know. And then my little dude who's 4, he just wants to be by my side. But, you know, one of the things for me, and I'm saying this in a funny kind of self-deprecating way. People are always like, "Oh, dude, you're such a great dad. You take all your kids and you do this stuff with them." And yeah, I do. But some of that is just me saying, "I'm doing this.
Mhm.
You're coming with me." You
Uh,
know what I'm saying? Like, there's not like,
mhm,
you know, and I want them to enjoy it, yes, but it's also, I don't want to say selfish. That's not the right word, but I'm going fishing. You're coming too. Now you can fish with me, or you can sit here, or you can do this, and
Sit
if
on
you
the
want to do
bank
it,
or
I'll show you. Let's do it. But yeah, but I'm going, you know, and I'm going to duck hunt, dove hunt. I took my girls with us and they had a blast with Ron and I eating candy and watching the sun come up, just being outside. So I think that's really the drug, if you will. And all of us say it, and we've said it 1,000 times in this podcast, taking someone out to see the sun come up the first time
mhm.
and hearing it. I mean, you can't, everybody that you do that for, kids, adults, there's just something spiritual about it, man. So that's my
such a
rant. I mean, I
romantic
just try to be
thing.
involved. It's a passion. Yeah. I just try to be involved with it. And if they want to do it, great. I'm going to fuel that fire. And if they don't, then for me, we're going to find other stuff, whether it's music or art.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, that's where I'm at with it. That's a really good question though. So jump in,
It's
Ron.
a great question, Brian. So like Chris, I guess one of the things you made me think of, because you said like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and you're my kid, so you're going along. That's the way I grew up, So like,
Mhm.
if dad was going to
Yeah.
get a haircut, I was going to get a haircut. If he was going to work on the lawnmower, like I wasn't helping work on the lawnmower, but I was sitting in the garage, with him while I was doing whatever dad was doing. Not by choice sometimes. If we were taking a nap on Sunday afternoon after church, I was taking a nap and I didn't want to take a nap. You know what I mean? So I see like so many people now, like young parents now letting their kids dictate to them what their
Mhm.
schedule's going to be,
Mhm.
because they're involved in
Yeah.
5 different sports, and that schedule can eat up your calendar. Um
Yeah.
so, I liked what you said there. It's like, look, this is what I'm doing and kids are coming along, and they're going to grow up and they can do what they want. In our household, I was allowed to like sports, Brian. And I know I'll get to your question here in a minute, but just I guess to set a foundation, like we wrestled, we played baseball, we played football. Like that's what the men in the family did, right? And so I had that modeled for me, and that's what I wanted to do. But my dad told me, he's like, you can play any sport you want, but you're only playing one sport at a time.
Mm.
And if you start, you're going to finish. You're not
Mhm.
going to quit in the middle of the
Mhm.
season. So,
Yep.
when I grew up, wrestling was really big in the little town that we are from. And I started wrestling when I was 5, and the club let you in when you got into kindergarten. And so as youngsters, man, we were learning how to wrestle, which is a great way to burn energy and stuff. But my brother was really, really good wrestler. He's built a little bit different than I was. I was a wiry little kid, and I didn't have the work ethic. I didn't want to do the
Mhm.
push-ups and all. I just wanted to have fun, play, whatever. So by the time I hit 3rd grade, I was like, I'm just not as good at this as my brother was, and as my dad, my uncles, and everybody else. And so I'm like, I think I want to play basketball. And I remember my uncle telling me, like, what are you doing playing basketball? It was just like that mindset of you're doing something different. But my dad always said, like, you can play any sport you wanted to play, but you start it, you're going to finish it.
Mhm.
And you're
Mhm.
not going to play multiple sports at once. So that was like the baseline for us in my household growing up, just to give the audience an idea of the kind of household we were in. Now, your question: how do you get younger folks interested in the outdoors, or even if it's anything that you're doing, right? So for
Mhm.
me, the first thing that come to my mind was, well, you got to get them exposed early, bring them along and let them, like, immerse them in the thing that you're doing. So if you like to fish, go fishing. If you like to hike, take them hiking. If you like to camp, take them camping. Like whatever that might be, get them exposed early, because then it becomes their paradigm. Like,
Mhm.
you see the world through your past experience. That's what I think. But if you really want them to get into it, I think any one of us and anybody that we interview or talk to, we ask, like, how did you fall in love with hunting? Well, once I had some success, I got bit by the bug. If you can create
Yeah.
opportunities for kids to be successful early on, like deer hunting's really difficult because we sit for long periods of time in a cold, cold environment, and you might not even see a thing, right? But if you take a kid out fishing to the pond and they're catching a bunch of bluegills, because the bluegills are going to bite, they're they're getting opportunities to be successful. And if you get some early success, so I'd say small game hunting, or
Mhm.
even like clay shooting and things like that, where there's some
Mhm.
activities, there's some action, it's not boring. Squirrels, things of that nature. um, that helps. It might not always work, it depends on the
Mhm.
individual. But that would be my take on the subject matter. I don't know if you guys want to
Yeah.
comment on that.
Jump.
What
Go ahead, Brian. What's your take
I
on
was
it,
just
bro?
gonna say, I really appreciated, this input from both of you guys. And I think it made me think back to when my dad took me. It wasn't a choice really. It was like, hey, we're going fishing. Get your stuff. Let's go. Maybe I know there's a fine line with that nowadays with the way kids are to an extent, but maybe I just need to be more like, "Hey, Izzy, get your stuff. Let's go. We're gonna go." Because I think y y I don't know about you guys, but when we go out, it's just like some of the things that we see, the sunrises, the sunsets, um, just different bugs or insects or whatever. Seeing those kind of things is pretty cool, and I think that if kids get a chance to just see some of that, like you said, Ron,
Mhm.
it just builds that momentum, right? They see it and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Wonder what happened next time," or "Let's try this. Wonder if this will work." So, more of the, "Get your stuff. Let's get going because 'cause we're gonna go,"
It'll
approach,
build curiosity for sure, because you never know what
Yeah.
you're gonna encounter if you take a day in nature. After the show, hang on, and, I'll tell you a story and show you a video of, when you take a walk out in the woods, some of the things that you might see. You never know what you're gonna come across.
Yeah, I've said this before here a bunch. What I try to do with my kids with that stuff too is I go into the mindset that we're just going to go spend time together and hang out. Yes, I want to hunt or I want to fish, but we're just going to hang out. I also let them try it for me to let me maybe see a different side of dad. We're going to go to, I say this all the time. We're going to go to Sheets. We're going to go to Turkey Hill. We're going to go to Rudders, Wawa, whatever. I don't care what time of day it is. Pick out whatever you want to an extent as much as you want. We're going to get some snacks. We're going to hang out. We're going to stop at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, and we're just going to go outside. Then I try to let them see a little bit different side of dad. We can talk different out here. We have rules, in the boat or the blind. You can kind of say what you want. We're out here being guys or, even my girls,
More lenience.
we're going to out here and hang out.
Mhm.
So, I let them try to do that. And then again, what you guys said, the little things, watching a deer come in that doesn't know you're there, watching the birds wake up, watching the ducks come in. It doesn't take much to get them hooked on that. And it's, and then I just fuel it if they want to be into it. My one son I talked about a bunch. He loves music and movies. And I told Ron on the way home today, we're talking about this. If it's cold and early, he doesn't want to go. And I might
Mhm.
I'll make him a couple times. We try to go out on the opening day together for deer and ducks, but I'm not pushing him. And he'll tell me when he wants to go, and we'll go. And
Mhm.
that's cool. They're teenagers now. They're older. But my younger ones, if mom's not home or they're not doing anything and we're going fishing, and guess what? You're going fishing, and
Yeah.
again, what you do is what you do. To like caveat too, to like what to go back to what Ron was talking about with sports is I did the same thing. My kids could pick one activity. And again, I have a lot of kids. I let them pick one thing. Being a new dad 15 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, whatever. I loved baseball growing up. We're all about the same age. Baseball was it when we were kids, right? I mean, you
Mhm.
collected the cards, you played baseball, right? So I signed them up for baseball, and I said the same thing. I said, buddy, both of you said this, if you're going to play, then you're going to play. This is a fall league, you know. We like to hunt, we like to fish, we like to travel. We don't My children are homeschooled, my wife works at home. We don't have a lot of inhibitions. So if we want to go somewhere, we're going you know? So that's what I said to him. And I had to come to the realization, again, I'm not preaching this is for me and my family, that I was pushing that on him more than he wanted to do it.
Sure.
I wanted to be the baseball dad. He was into it to play catch in the yard and have fun with us, but he wasn't into it. It actually took them telling me, Dad, this is fun, but we would rather be able to pick up and go to the mountains, be able to pick up and go to the beach. Let's go hunting and not have this stuff. So if anybody that's interested, there's a lot of articles out there now. Again, I'm not preaching to anybody that does anything wrong or say this is the right way, but there's a lot of stuff about how travel sports and this stuff is really tearing apart families now. And
Mhm.
it's some deep stuff, and whether, that's not me talking
It's a
negative on
big
people that
commitment.
enjoy it. If that's what your family does. Yeah. If that's what your family does and that's where you get enjoyment, do it, man. Do your thing. But, not eating dinner till certain times, everybody's running. It's a lot of
Mhm.
stuff that, you know, that's different roundtable conversations where, conspiracies and planned
Yeah.
obsolescence and,
Well, hey, the
get into all
family
that. But
dynamic's
so I
different.
say that, yeah,
You know what I mean? I
right.
mean, even if you're just looking at
Hmm.
different types of families, you got broken homes, you
Well,
got
when we were kids,
nuclear families, you got like
yeah,
you know, look, you can make up anything in just about nowadays,
when,
but
Mm.
go ahead.
I don't know how it was when you guys were kids, but like, we played baseball, but you didn't play on Sundays because everybody went to church. There was no games on
Right.
Sundays.
Mhm.
And it wasn't
Stores
that we
weren't
didn't do
open.
it. There wasn't games. Stores weren't open. And a lot of places didn't do it on Wednesdays because kids went to youth groups and churches and stuff. There
Mhm.
was no practices or games on Wednesday. So that's me. Again, if your families are into that and that's how you bond and you guys are enjoying it, go do your thing. I'm not preaching. I'm just saying for certain people, me and especially, we don't want the inhibition. We want to travel. We want to go. And that's where we're at. So that's enough of my sermon for the night.
Yeah, if what
Preach
Kris
on, brother.
says, if
Yeah.
what Kris has said is irritated or offended anybody, just send a message in, and we'll make sure that he gets it and responds to you.
I'll read it. I will read your response on the next
We'll read
episode.
everyone.
Okay.
Yep.
I will. I will.
So I don't know. Does that speak to the topic, Brian?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, fellas, and,
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to, getting out. Now, the times were different back when we were kids, compared to today, but, that's a whole 'nother conversation as well. So, but yeah, thanks, fellas. I'm gonna go with the approach of, "Hey, it's time, get your stuff, we're gonna go and have fun," and I've done that, Kris. I've taken the little, actually, my daughter has a pink, might be, Disney, little, fishing tackle box, and it's filled to the brim with candy. I mean, I've done that. It's like,
Yeah.
load it up. I don't care.
Yeah.
You can eat candy all you want along the stream.
Yeah.
We're gonna make this fun. And I've also used, hey, my buddy has kids. They're going. That approach too seems to work. So she goes
Yeah.
out with me, but we'll work through it. But I would love for her to be with me a lot more, but with due time, and we'll see what happens.
You'll get
I
there.
think the
I'll
key
tell you
is
another thing I
make it
do real
fun.
quick. Yeah, make it fun. We go to Walmart in the spring or Bass Pro, and I let them pick out some fishing lures.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that stuff's getting expensive now, but hey, pick out some cool stuff you want to try. And I don't have like, I might say that's a saltwater lure for, trolling for this, that, or the other, but yeah, go throw that big
Come
frog.
on,
Go
Kris,
get,
throw that in the stream.
yeah,
That's
go
right.
try that, whatever. Yeah, but, just, I try to bring them into it. And, as we're trailing off of this, if they're not into it, you're going to come hang out with dad and do it, but I'm also not making you do it at a point where you can choose to go. So again, my teenage boys, when they want to go, we're going, and we're going to go have fun. And I don't want to force it on them where they resent it or don't want to do it. If they're into it, they're into it. Right. Cool.
That's great, man. Deeper conversation than I expected, and certainly value it and appreciate it. Kris, why don't you hit us with what you got, man?
Okay, I have two questions. One of them's not gonna be that deep. One of them is a little deep,
All right.
and it is hunting and fishing oriented, but it'll I want you guys to really think about it. Okay, so on the cusp, it's going to be the old question: if you had to choose one hunting or fishing activity, I'm not saying hunting or fishing, but like bow hunting or this or duck hunting or smallmouth fishing, which would you pick? And what I want you to think about is there a time that you would pick that would make you do that? So for instance, Ron, you were talking about you went fishing with your dad recently, right? And it was
Right.
just this cool thing.
Yeah.
So would you pick fishing to maybe do that? Like could you take your kid? I took my boys and I took all my kids down to Josh's farm, just ripping bluegills out. And it's a beautiful spring night, and I've talked about this a couple of times. We went fishing in West Virginia, and I wouldn't have paid $1 million to trade that night on this river with my kids in the mountains where the sun's setting. So which one would you choose with that information? If there's a moment in time from one of those activities that you had to relive forever, which one of those would you pick or why? Your first deer, something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Brian, unless you want to think about it.
I would say it was, rifle hunting with my dad. I still, if I could relive that again, I would for sure. Being in the stand with him and just the way things happened for my first buck. I'll never forget that. None of us are getting, we talked a little bit about this earlier on before we started. None of
Mm-hmm.
us are getting any younger. I really value the time I get to spend with my dad, especially it's more in the on the stream now, than it is in the stand. But going back, I would get back to that moment in a heartbeat, and I can picture it like it was the other day for sure.
Okay, cool.
I've got so many memories around hunting, you know. Um, when I cut my teeth on hunting, we did a lot of driving. So if you ever hear, Buck and I talk about, driving for deer growing up, that was kind of social, where we would get a gang of guys,
Yeah.
anywhere from 8 to 12 guys, and we would push big plots of land, forests and to bottoms and across fields, and we'd be successful because of it. We strategically, we had guys that knew where they knew the lay of the land, and we learned a lot as young guys doing that. But I remember we didn't have a lot of places. If we weren't driving for deer, we didn't have a lot of property to hunt. Um, there's some public land, around where I grew up and stuff, but I remember there was one farmer down the road, and deer, went through his bottom or whatever, and Dad had permission to go out there. And I remember sitting down with him. I remember having cold hands. We didn't have the good hunting gear. I Dad would give me an old pair of jersey gloves. The minute they get wet, my hands would be freezing, but that's what I had to keep my fingers warm. So I was usually cold pretty quick. But I just remember sitting on the ground, and my dad taking me along. I was finally old enough to go along, and he had a thermos, so we had some hot tea, to warm your insides up a little bit, and just try to get me to sit a little bit longer. So you didn't see anything, probably because I couldn't sit still. But I I don't know, man, like, that's a memory I've got, Chris, when
Mhm.
you're saying about memories, but I've got so many hunting stories that for me, like, the best time of year is I'm a bow hunter. It's, going up to our cabin with my brother, um, for the rut and, spending 2 or 3 days. You're packing up a cooler. We're we're drinking a bunch of beer. Um, heck, I staying up later than I should. I remember sitting up one night watching television. We need to get up and go hunting in the morning. It's the rut. This is what it's all about. But hell, my brother and I are just sitting up and we're watching old, hunting videos on TV, and this commercial comes on talk. It was selling like a buck grunt. It's like, 1:30 in the morning infomercial, and it's like, "Don't buy your buck calls from China." One of those type of, buy something that's made in America. It's just the funniest thing. It's like you had to be there a moment, but I've got so many stories of just hanging out with my family at hunting camp that I'd have to say it's, bow hunting during the rut, which everybody that's the best time to bow hunt anyway, but it's not even about hunting the rut for me. It's about the memories made, with your compadres while you're doing it. So, anything else be hard to overtake that from my lens or my worldview.
That's cool.
It's interesting, Ron, though. I think I get as much of a thrill, like you were saying, leading up to things, all that planning and preparation and just hanging out, being with the boys
Yeah.
and playing poker. I remember playing poker late into the night, watching hockey on TV because it was the springtime for trout season. But like all that camaraderie and leading up to the openers, that's just as much fun as is actually being in it too. And I always like the planning and the preparation that goes into things and getting ready and hanging out with the boys and taking those road trips out to hunt public land in Ohio and planning all those details. That's just fun. I like that.
Yeah, it's like the excitement, the build
Yeah,
up
cool.
leading to Christmas morning or something like that. The
Hmm.
opener's only one day.
Mhm.
but we can talk about, man, it's coming, it's getting close. And I know even for the trout opener this year, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and Brian and I are texting each other. We're blowing up the group chat, but he's like, I got the coffee on. I'm like, well, I made, bacon and eggs or whatever. And we're just, hyping one another up, even though we're not
Mhm.
together for it.
Yeah.
We're sharing that moment.
Hell, we should have it was like we were together at the moment, Ron. I don't know who got up first, but we were probably pretty damn close on on that one, but it was just crazy because it was just we were back and forth, and it's like, "Man, this guy's up. He's just into it as I am." And then I kinda felt bad. I started texting the group, and I'm like, "Oh, shit, maybe these guys aren't up yet," So, anyway, hopefully nobody got offended with that, but
Send us your hate mail, and we'll make sure Brian reads it on next week's episode if you upset him on the group chat. So, Kris, how about you, man? I mean, we know you're a big duck hunter, but
Yeah.
the answer to your
So,
own question,
yeah, as I was thinking about this in the place that all men think about things on the pooper, right?
deep in thought.
uh, one of the first things that come up is, we had a really fun day 2 or 3 years ago goose hunting. My oldest boy was with us for the first time. We're in layout blinds. It's one of those things where it's just happening, feet down in our faces. They're just coming into us. We're just in the spot. So that was real. That was one I really thought about. But if I had to pick, it would be fishing. I think a lot of my best memories are fishing, whether recently or as a kid or with Josh or in the ocean or on the bay. Like it's just fishing for me, man. Just being in the sun, being on the water. There's something about the water. If I had to pick one, it's efficient. When we started 3B, I was the fishing guy before
Hmm.
I just, I guess I had to be, I wanted to be different, I guess, but I just loved fishing, man. And I'm catching that bug again. I'm getting back into it, man. And, you know, it's as simple as it get. Fishing's where it's at for me. Just having a good time, you know, and ripping lips and laughing and having your hands smell terrible when you get home. So you guys can take that how you want.
Now, listen, anything that slows you down so that you can enjoy the moment,
Yeah.
right? And that's different for all of
Yeah.
us. But I don't know. This has been fun, guys. I know we're approaching an
Yeah.
hour, and I know we could sit here and talk because every time one of you answers a response, I'm writing things down,
Yeah.
thinking about something else. So we need to do this. I think we're
Yeah.
probably our goal throughout the summer at least is to do a round table maybe once a month. Bring on a different regular to come on and talk with us, and just shoot the breeze and hang out, and hopefully we can line up our next get together, and you can make it with us, Brian, this time. I know we were
yeah, that'd be
dangerously
awesome.
close to the trout opener last time, and you
Yeah.
weren't able to come down, but looking forward to connecting in person, and I always appreciate you coming out and just making the time to hang with us, man. You're a big part of the group.
Hey, thanks, buddy, and, fellas, and I appreciate it. This group and the camaraderie and the fellowship and just the ability to connect with like-minded individuals that love to, hunt and fish, it's awesome. If anybody's new to, the Tracks and Tackle Collaborative or, 3B or Metzler's Outdoors, Young and Wild Outdoors, like, all these guys are into it, and, if you want to be part of a cool group that's into it, this is it, man. So, hey, guys, I appreciate it, your time, and thanks for having me. It's always a blast. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. I was just telling Ron about like, it's the weirdest thing, but it's the best thing. Like, I just met, and we've never actually physically met Brian, but we text all the time. I'm sending you pictures, and we're talking about fishing, and we're talking about different stuff like this, and we're on the chat through the collaborative group. You know, I just met Justin Barrick through Ron, and I mean, over the last month, we've gotten like super tight. He's like teaching me how to turkey hunt, and we've been hanging out, and it's like I would have never had this. So, an infomercial here throughout this collaborative and these groups, man. So guys, if you're not part of ours, make your own. Go out there and hang out, dude. Start that atmosphere. Hang out, support each other. It really pays off, man. The last year, we've had a blast, Ron. I mean, we've had a blast.
Well, I
you
mean,
know?
it's a community. So, I like what you said,
Yeah.
Kris. If you're out there and you don't have something, you don't look, you're welcome to reach out to us and we'll bring you in, but um build your own. Like make a community, build friends and you know, do life together and it all it is making yourself available. And you can be as involved or as little as involved as you'd like, but it has been a blast getting to know, the different guys that we've interacted with, and it's certainly from running a podcast and running different social media pages like we all do and stuff. It's just cool to know there are other guys out there digging the same stuff, and I get
Yeah.
hyped when I see you post something, you know. Brian's out there posting he's fishing with his dad or pulling, tricks on somebody and pranking everybody. Like, it's just like you're there, even though you're not, because we do know one another. So, um, anyway, final words. Appreciate all you guys that hang out every week, watch or listen to the show. We're trying to keep this lively and trying to keep the content fresh, so it's not the same show every week over and over again. So once a month, we'll probably do a roundtable like this going through the summer, and we've got some pretty cool guests lined up here over the next month or so. So stay tuned. Keep like, share, subscribe. And as always, just remember nature is your playground. We invite you guys to always get outdoors and stay wild.